The first step of this process involves the grates at the bottom of this tank. The water comes through from the streams of the sewage, and it's divided out. The large deposits that you can actually grab with your hand are taken out by the first grate, and the smaller grate down there will take out small trash, and then it'll go pump through those turbines over there up to the top. These are the turbines I was talking about. They're only doing one right now, which means they're basically at a third capacity of the plant. So as you can see, as the spiral rotates, it carries the water up to the top of the plant where it's oxidized. This is the tank where the water goes after it's pumped up by the turbines. These right here churn the water and oxidize it so it can put as much oxygen in it as possible, because that helps break down the bacteria. And you can see the sludge and everything that just comes up from doing all this. After the water is pumped up through the tanks below, it's taken here, where the sludge is churned up and it sucks right to the bottom because the water is so light. And you can see all the stuff that comes to the top, all the foam. And there's so much oxygen and space in between all the water that if you jump in, you'll sink straight to the bottom. I'm not recommending that.
Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
In this building behind this big machine right here, all the sludge is pumped out of the water that we just saw downstairs, and it's turned into all this fertilizer. And you take this truck right here, and farmers come up and use it as fertilizer for their farm. This is the second to last stage. After the sludge is pumped out of the water and used for fertilizer, the water comes here to sit for any deposits that are left. They sink to the bottom, so they're pumped out, and the water is pumped over there for the final stage. This is the final stage of treatment. It used to involve chlorine, where you bleach the water just to disinfect it. But since it's released back into their streams and eventually into the lake, they just use UV rays now. And what happens is when the water comes through, they shine this light, and it kills 99.9% of germs, and it's just as effective as chlorine bleach. Water as it's being pumped out back into the streams and the lake down the road. As you can see right here, the water is white. The rapids are white as opposed to the brown over there. It's perfectly clean. You can drink it. Most people wouldn't because it was sewage at one time, but it's just as clean as your tap water at home. And that's the end of your water treatment plant tour. I'm Michael Baker, and thanks for watching.
That sound, everybody look what's going down. Battle lines being drawn, nobody's right.
What are some problems that you've seen as a result of inadequate wastewater treatment?
Oh yes, there's a lot of problems can happen. One good example is you may have noticed, like sometimes if you don't treat the water well enough and you release it to the rivers or ponds, you see the algae grow, it becomes green, and it smells good, bad, doesn't look good. It's called eutrophication. It kills all plant life, fish life in there, you know, and that's one example of what might happen. And if people are using that water for something, irrigation or drinking, it's even worse, you know. It goes into the food chain with all those bad stuff in the wastewater that you have not really removed, so say contaminated. So it triggers a whole chain reaction of all these things, you know, and that's what one of the you know, the big problems you have if you don't really treat this wastewater to a acceptable level before you release it back to the natural environment.
I think it's time we stop, children. What's that sound? Everybody look what's